The email from HR came in at 9:47 on a Tuesday morning. Subject line, confidential. Please come to conference room B at 10:15. I had 15 minutes to figure out what I'd done wrong, and I couldn't think of a single thing. I'd been at the company for 4 years, senior analyst, clean reviews, 2 promotions. I worked with the same team every day, sat in the same meetings, ate lunch with the same 3 people. If something was wrong, I would have known. When I walked into conference room B, there were 3 people waiting. My direct manager, the head of HR, and a woman from legal I'd seen maybe twice in 4 years. They had a folder on the table. The HR head opened it and slid a printed email across to me. She asked if I'd written it. I read it twice. It was sent from my work address to a personal Gmail account I didn't recognize, and it contained client account numbers. 6 of them, sent at 11:32 p.m. on a Saturday, 3 weeks earlier. I told them I hadn't written it. The HR head nodded like she expected that answer and pulled out 3 more, all from my address, all sent from my account, all containing data I had no business sending anywhere. I was placed on administrative leave that afternoon, escorted out by security, told not to contact anyone at the company while the investigation was open. I drove home in the middle of a workday for the first time in 4 years, and I sat in my car in the driveway for an hour before I went inside. I knew I hadn't sent those emails, which meant someone else had, and whoever it was had access to my account, my schedule, and a reason to want me gone. The first thing I did was hire a lawyer, not because I thought I needed one yet, but because I knew enough to know I would. She told me to write down everything, every person I worked with, every project I'd touched in the last 6 months, every conflict, no matter how small. She told me to do it before I forgot details, because in a few weeks, the panic would blur everything together. I made the list. It was longer than I expected. There was the project I'd led that took a budget away from another team, the promotion I'd gotten that someone else had been gunning for, the time I'd corrected a senior person in a meeting and embarrassed them in front of leadership. There was the woman I'd reported to HR myself 2 years earlier for taking credit for a junior employee's work. Nothing had happened to her, but she knew it was me who'd reported it. I wrote down 23 names. My lawyer told me to start with the people who had something to gain. The investigation moved slowly. I wasn't told what they were finding, only that it was ongoing. I sat at home for 3 weeks, refreshing my email and watching my savings account go down. My salary had stopped the day I was walked out. They called it administrative leave, but there was no pay attached to it. In the 4th week, I got a letter. Termination, effective immediately. Cause, violation of data security policy and unauthorized disclosure of client information. No severance, no reference. The letter said I was free to dispute the findings through arbitration, but the company considered the matter closed. My lawyer told me arbitration would cost more than I'd recover, even if I won. She told me to focus on getting another job and putting it behind me. I told her I wasn't going to do that, because if I left it alone, the person who'd done this would do it again, to someone else, and I'd spend the rest of my career wondering who it was. The break came from a friend, someone I'd worked with for 3 years, who still had access to the company's internal systems and who didn't believe for a second that I'd done what they said I did. She didn't pull anything she wasn't supposed to. She didn't break any rules. She just paid attention, the way people do when they're looking for something specific. What she noticed was a pattern. The emails from my account had been sent at times when I wasn't at my desk, some of them at night, some during meetings I'd been in, one of them while I was on a flight with no internet access. She remembered the flight specifically because I'd sent her a picture of the runway. Before I took off, she told me what she'd noticed. She didn't offer to do anything else, and I didn't ask her to. But it gave me something to bring to my lawyer. My lawyer subpoenaed the email logs, the full ones, with IP addresses and device information, not the summaries the company had shown me during the investigation. It took 2 months and a court order, but they came. The emails hadn't been sent from my computer. They'd been sent from a device that had logged into my account using credentials from an IP address inside the company's office network, but not from my workstation, from a different floor, from a conference room that anyone with a badge could access. Whoever had done it had logged into my account from a shared room, sent the emails and logged out 4 separate times over 6 weeks. each time from the same conference room, each time at hours when most of the office was empty. The IP logs gave us the room. The badge logs would give us the person. The badge logs were harder to get. The company didn't want to release them, and they fought the subpoena for another 6 weeks. But eventually, a judge ordered them turned over, and we had a list of every person who had badged into that conference room during the windows when the emails had been sent. There were 41 names on the list. Most of them had been in the room for meetings, but 4 of the entries were after hours when no meetings were scheduled and matched the timestamps on the emails almost exactly. All 4 were the same person. She was a director on a team I'd worked with on a cross-functional project 2 years earlier. The project had gone well. For me. For her, it had gone differently. Leadership had restructured her group based on findings from that project, and she'd lost 2 of her direct reports and a portion of her budget. She'd never said anything to me about it. We'd continued to work together, cordially. I'd assumed she'd moved on. She hadn't moved on. She'd waited. When my lawyer presented the badge logs and the IP records, the company's posture changed completely. Within a week, they offered a settlement. Back pay, reinstatement of my file with a clean record, a written letter stating the termination had been based on incorrect information, and a confidentiality agreement covering the amount of the financial settlement. I took it. I didn't go back to the company. The trust was gone, and there was no way to rebuild it sitting at the same desk, knowing what some of the people there had been willing to believe. The director was quietly let go. No announcement, no explanation to the staff. People I'd worked with told me she just stopped showing up one day, and her name disappeared from the directory the following week. I started over at a new company, with a clean record and a settlement that covered the year I'd lost. But the thing that stays with me isn't the money or the job. It's how easy it was, how little it took to nearly end a career. 1 person with a grudge, 4 emails and a conference room. Nobody was watching. If this story hit you, subscribe. Every case on this channel starts with trust and ends with the truth.